So I was just watching myself in this new 90-minute documentary coming out from Robert Stark and Matthew P. And I was looking at it and going, who's this monotonous guy just droning on, long-winded, aging, a little bit creepy at times, but just like the monotonous voice was really getting to me, and it was like, this is me. This is who I am. And I was like sweaty and just like tired and just a droner. Okay, I was as deadly as Barack Obama to a Yemenite wedding. You know, when he's got some cruise missile ready to launch. And it just makes me think that we don't see ourselves. That often we just don't tend to have an accurate picture of ourselves. And I notice that the more accurate your self-understanding, the happier you are. Like, have you a compliment to someone who doesn't deserve it, but you're just doing it to either to be nice or just to smooth some social interaction? And if the person is sharp, they'll say, oh, that's false. But if the person is stupid, they'll go, oh, thank you. And it's really fun when you meet people who live in reality, who can just spot your BS. Like, I appreciate when someone's spotting me trying to calm them, deceive them, manipulate them, and they just spot it like that. And I notice these people have a pretty accurate understanding of themselves, their strong points, and that's a good thing. So I notice a lot of people think they're funny and they're not very funny, and a lot of people who don't think they're funny are funny. So it seems to me about half the population has a fairly accurate understanding of themselves. And this just so happens to be the half of the population that you don't find very often in 12-step meetings. So certain things go together. Like, an accurate understanding of yourself tends to go with tendency to form strong, lasting relationships, a tendency to want to connect and bond with other people, a tendency to be more interested in people than in things, a tendency to make healthy decisions, tendency to be an upstanding citizen. They all seem to go together. Then the people who are deluded about themselves, these are the people I run into in my 12-step meetings. Okay? Usually I think those of us who live on delusions of grandeur, it's because reality is too painful. Come on, let me in here. Come on. I really want to get in here. Okay. And so reality is really painful when we're not navigating it very well, and other people don't want to connect with us. Do you notice that most people just hate the sound of their voice? And I notice that I just have to hear someone's voice, and pretty much I get a, generally speaking, accurate impression of someone. Like, if their voice is strangled, they're usually kind of strangled by all sorts of self-defeating habits, attention patterns. If their voice is weak, usually means that they are weak. If their voice is tired, usually means they are tired or sickly. If their voice is tentative, it means the person generally lacks confidence. They lack confidence because they don't navigate reality very well. So how can you tell if you're living in reality rather than living in delusion? How can you tell if you have accurate understanding of yourself? If you have an accurate, by and large, you should be gliding through life. That's what I found when I worked on my recovery, when I did my 12-step programs, when I got a sponsor, when I worked the steps, when I went to meetings, when I was open to taking direction. My life got a lot better, and I just started gliding through life. I just wasn't experiencing a lot of stress, trouble, turbulence. I was just gliding through life, and interactions with people became a lot easier. And so I think if you're gliding with life, if you're interacting with people and it's going pretty smoothly, you have an accurate sense of yourself. Okay, if you are having meaningful interactions with other people in a variety of social circumstances, and they're going fine to better than that, you have an accurate perception of yourself, and you're rooted in reality, and in all likelihood you're rooted in reality because you like reality. You'd rather spend time in reality rather than in fantasy. In all likelihood, it means you're not spending hours a night looking at pornography. You don't have to drink yourself to sleep. If you're earning over 6 figures a year, in all likelihood, you have an accurate perception of yourself. So that's my life experience. People who earn over 6 figures a year, in my experience, 90% of the time, have a fairly accurate perception of themselves. It's not that they think lowly of themselves, oh, I'm a big sinner, I'm a loser, God hates me. No, they recognize that they have certain gifts, they monetize those gifts, and they paid the rent with those gifts, and they recognize that they have other things that they're not good at, and so they hire other people to do those things, or they delegate, or they trade. So, other thing I noticed about people who tend to have an accurate perception of themselves, they're happy. Because if you're going around with a false impression of yourself, you're going to be angry and upset because other people, by and large, are not going to consistently mirror back to you your own false image of yourself. But when I've been an employee and I've had a good relationship with a boss, and I tend to make an inconsequential mistake more often than I should, and I can say, oh, that's not like me, and my boss can go, yeah, that's very like you, and you can both laugh about it. Okay, I've done well in jobs often where I've taken the attitude, I don't know anything. Okay, I was just an assistant, and so as long as I kept the attitude, I don't know anything, and I don't mean taking that attitude to an absurd degree. I know how to use the copier, I know how to use the computer, I know how to fax and scan, I know how to read correspondence. But any decision that was of consequence, obviously I'd delegate that to my boss. And I didn't come to my work with an agenda beyond just doing what my boss wanted. And so even though I've usually lacked initiative on most of my jobs, I haven't gone into them like looking for more ways that I can be useful. If I retain that humility of, I don't know anything, I'm just here to be of service to my boss and do the things he says, it's kind of a relief for the boss because then I'm not getting out of my lane, okay? I'm not doing things that are inappropriate or could cause him tremendous aggravation. I just stay very humble, do the tasks assigned to me in the ways that were taught to me, and life goes better. Like if you're constantly having parking disputes, then you're probably not in touch with your neighbors, okay? Maybe you need to move another foot so that they have an easier time parking. If you keep forgetting to move your car so that your neighbor has to come remind you, they're going to be mad about that. If you're a kleptomaniac and you're volunteering to be the treasurer at your 12-step group, obviously that's not a good combo. So the other great thing about living in reality is that by and large you avoid humiliation. Like when I look back at my life, there was just a whole bunch of humiliation, and always it was because I got caught out from living in reality. I had a sense of myself and my importance and my gifts that was just not in touch with reality, and so I would constantly feel humiliation because I had exaggerated my own standing. So if you're not constantly running into humiliation, you probably have a pretty good sense of yourself. If you're able to maintain relationships and form new ones, you probably have a pretty accurate perception of yourself, because people love someone who's real, someone who's authentic. And you can really only be real and authentic if you have an accurate understanding of yourself. Don't you just find it a relief when, say, you're working next to someone who's real and authentic? It's like, whew. It's just, all the tension just kind of drains out of things when the person is like, yeah, I have a problem with being on time. Or the person says, yeah, I'm sorry, I just can't be bothered doing my makeup. Or the person says, I tend to tell really inappropriate jokes, or whatever. It's just such a breath of fresh air when you're dealing with someone who's authentic, when they're real, when they don't mind letting down their guard. Okay, it's like, oh yeah, I can relate to this person, and there's a feeling of safety. Okay, if someone tells you they're a kleptomaniac and they're upfront about it, you don't leave money and valuable objects around them. Okay, if someone tells you they're a sex addict, you don't introduce them to your sister or your daughter. If someone tells you they can't resist chocolate, you don't bring them chocolate if they're trying to lose weight. If someone tells you, oh, it's really important to me that you say good morning, how are you, and I get some small talk at the beginning of the day, it just makes me feel a lot better. Then it's kind of a relief because the person's being authentic. I had this really sweet girlfriend who had a good psychiatrist, and she was learning to be more and more authentic and open and honest about who she was and what she wanted. And it was adorable. Like, there'd be some mornings she'd say, I just want to feel full. And it was adorable. Or, I want you to walk me to my door when you drop me off at night. Or, please don't say XYZ when we're in public because it makes me feel devalued or awkward. Or whatever. When people are like honest, I remember I had this girlfriend. We had a great relationship for about a year, and what made it great is that she brought out the best in me. And whenever I became like my sarcastic, kind of nasty, offensive self, she would just say, "Don't be a boob." And immediately I would shape up. I'd stop being a boob. Now, this other girlfriend I had, I just got into this habit of like yelling at her and calling her derogatory names. So some girlfriends I treated with great respect, and whenever I didn't treat them with respect, they'd call me on it, and I appreciated that, because I don't feel good when I treat other people with disrespect. And then other girlfriends, I would just kind of get into this habit of treating them with disrespect and yelling at them, and I didn't like myself. I don't think they liked it. It wasn't good for the relationship. So it's great when someone's authentic, knows their boundaries, stands up for themselves, lets you know when you're not being your best self, calls you on your BS when you're lying, conniving, deceiving. And I think people can only call you on your BS if they know their own BS. Okay? If you know yourself, here's another sign: if you know yourself, other people don't surprise you. Okay? If you know your own capacity for cruelty. Okay, there's such a thing as normal marital sadism. Those are just the deliberate things that we do to our spouse, for example, that are hurtful, and we do it deliberately to hurt them. And all couples do this. All couples deliberately do things to the other spouse to hurt them. And if you can't face up to the ways that you're just carelessly cruel or deliberately cruel to other people in your daily life, then you're not living in reality, and therefore you're not going to be able to spot other people. So if you know your own carelessness, if you know your own selfishness, if you know how easy it is for you to, say, take advantage of other people, then you're going to be able to spot that much more quickly in other people and protect yourself and protect the ones you care about. So if you're leading a happy, productive life, if you're earning money, if you're prosperous, then in all likelihood, you have a pretty accurate image of yourself.